There's something wild that happens when you're lying in bed at 2 a.m. and an idea hits you so hard, it's like your brain refuses to rest until you do something about it. Your room is dark, the world is quiet, but your mind is lit up like a stadium. Everyone else is sleeping peacefully, but you're wide awake, because something inside you is too loud to ignore. Most people roll over, try to silence it, maybe tell themselves they'll write it down tomorrow. But that's not you. You feel this fire, this tug that says this matters. And even if it's just a seed right now, even if you don't fully know what it'll become, it's already strong enough to break your routine. That's the first sign. That moment when something speaks louder than comfort, that's when you know it's real. I've lived through this more times than I can count. Nights where I should be sleeping, where I should be winding down, and instead I'm pacing the room, grabbing a notebook, opening my laptop, scribbling stuff on the back of receipts, whatever I can find, just to get the idea out of my head and onto something real. And it's not glamorous, it's not a movie moment with some epic soundtrack. It's just raw, chaotic energy. Your brain is messy, you doubt yourself. You go back and forth between this is genius and this is stupid every 5 minutes. But you keep going, you keep chipping away at it, because even in the chaos there's clarity. That's what people don't understand. Losing sleep doesn't mean you're falling apart. It means you're waking up to something bigger than sleep. And the funny thing is, most people will try to convince you to calm down. They'll tell you balance is everything, that sleep is sacred, that you shouldn't push yourself too hard. And look, they're not wrong. Sleep is important, but you know what else is important? Purpose, passion, that gut feeling that tells you this could change everything. When you find something worth losing sleep over, you find out who you really are. You learn what gets you excited without anyone cheering you on. You learn what drives you in the silence when no one's watching and there's no guarantee of success. That's where the truth lies, in those moments when it's just you, your thoughts, and your hunger to build something from nothing. You have to understand that the world doesn't give out rewards for rest. It gives out rewards for results. Now, that doesn't mean you burn yourself out chasing every random thought. It means you learn to recognize the difference between noise and signals. And when something hits you hard enough to keep you up at night, it's probably a signal. It's probably something your future self will thank you for chasing. The idea might be crazy. It might be way out of reach. But it's not going to let you go. That's the sign of a great idea. It clings to you. It interrupts your schedule. It doesn't ask permission, and your job is to honor that. To get up, write it down, sketch it, start planning whatever you have to do to make sure it doesn't fade away by morning. Some of the best ideas I've ever had didn't show up when I was sitting at a desk in perfect lighting, drinking coffee and feeling organized. They showed up when I was exhausted, when I wasn't even trying, when I was seconds away from falling asleep, and suddenly something just clicked. That click, that's your edge. That's the thing that separates you from everyone who only works when it's convenient. Anyone can be productive at 10 a.m. with a to-do list and a motivational playlist. But the people who win long-term, they're the ones who answer the call when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when it's dark and silent and lonely, because they know that the most powerful ideas are fragile. If you don't grab them in the moment, they vanish, and no, they don't come back later. You don't get second chances with most breakthroughs. I've had nights where I've stared at a blank screen for hours because something inside told me I couldn't go to sleep until I figured out a way to make the idea work. And I'd be sitting there, completely drained, hungry, frustrated, and then boom. A single sentence, a visual, a structure, something lands, and in that moment, it's like all the chaos was worth it. The tired eyes, the spinning thoughts, the restless energy, it suddenly feels like fuel. That's what people miss. They see the sleepless nights and think it's reckless, but it's actually where you sharpen your focus. It's where you stretch your limits. It's where you build grit without even realizing it. Let me say this clearly, not every night will lead to a masterpiece. Some nights you'll chase the idea and it'll fall flat. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is persistence. You don't always control the quality of the idea, but you do control the decision to chase it. That's the muscle you build when you choose to get up, when you choose to fight for a vision no one else can see yet. And the more you do it, the stronger that muscle gets. Suddenly, you're not just a dreamer, you're a builder. You're not just inspired, you're executing, and that difference, that's everything. The truth is, most people will never understand what drives someone to stay up working on something that hasn't made a dollar, that no one's seen, that might never work. But that's the difference between people who wait for life to happen and people who build it themselves. You've got to ask yourself, do I want to live a life that's predictable and safe? Or do I want to chase something that lights me up, even if it comes with sleepless nights and doubt and discomfort? Because the second one, that's where the breakthroughs live. That's where you do things that actually matter. That's where you become the kind of person who doesn't just talk about ideas but brings them to life. It's not about glorifying exhaustion. It's about honoring your instincts. If something is keeping you up at night, maybe it's not anxiety. Maybe it's alignment. Maybe you're finally pointing in the right direction and your body just hasn't caught up to the idea that rest can wait. And yes, you'll feel tired. But there's a huge difference between the exhaustion of burnout and the exhaustion of purpose. One drains you, the other fuels you. And if you've ever lost sleep chasing an idea that felt too big to ignore, you know the difference. You know that weird thrill of being so deep in something that time disappears. That's where you want to live. That's the zone where dreams get built brick by brick. People often ask what it takes to do something great, and honestly, it's not just talent or money or connections. It's moments like this. It's the decision to follow the itch even when it's inconvenient. It's the willingness to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term impact. It's being okay with people not understanding why you're obsessed. Because in the end, no one else needs to see the vision as clearly as you do not at first. That clarity comes from those long, quiet nights when it's just you and your idea and the belief that it could be something more. So the next time you find yourself tossing and turning, pacing around your room, unable to stop thinking about a project, an idea, a dream that just won't leave you alone, pay attention. Don't brush it off. Don't tell yourself it can wait. Grab it, build it, lose sleep over it if you have to, because those moments, that's where transformation begins. That's where you separate yourself from everyone who's still waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions. That's where you prove to yourself, and eventually the world, that you're serious. That you're not just curious, you're committed. And that's a rare thing once you've accepted that losing sleep over an idea isn't a weakness but a signal of something greater. Something changes in how you move through the world. You stop waiting for the ideal conditions. You stop expecting things to be easy or perfectly aligned. You start realizing that the discomfort, the tiredness, the obsessive drive, they're not obstacles. They're proof that you're on to something real. When you care enough about something to let it disrupt your routine, to let it steal hours of your rest, to let it hijack your focus, that's when you've stumbled on something powerful. That's when the idea owns you, and when an idea owns you, you have a chance to make it real in ways most people never will. There's this lie people tell themselves that they'll get to it later, that once they're more rested, more prepared, more ready, they'll finally act. But the truth is, readiness is a myth. Ideas don't care if you're well rested. Opportunity doesn't wait for your calendar to clear. Inspiration doesn't ask if it's a good time. The best ideas come uninvited and unannounced. They show up messy, incomplete, and inconvenient, but if you wait for them to fit into your neat little schedule, you'll miss them every time, because ideas are like sparks. If you don't grab them, they vanish. And once they vanish, they don't come back with the same fire. You've got a window, a narrow one, to chase that idea while it's still glowing. If you ignore it, you're not just losing an idea. You're training yourself to ignore the call. And the more you do that, the quieter the call becomes. Let me tell you something about those long nights, there where identity is forged, there where belief is tested. When everyone else is sleeping and you're still grinding, still building, still chasing that thing inside your head, you start to realize that you're cut from something different. You're not chasing likes or followers or applause. You're chasing the thrill of making something that didn't exist before. That thrill, it's addictive, and it can't be manufactured. It only comes from doing the work when no one's watching, when there's no guarantee. No external reward, just you and your relentless pursuit of better. People talk a lot about passion, but they often confuse it with excitement. Passion isn't just energy or enthusiasm. Passion is commitment. Passion is doing the work when you're tired, when you're uncertain, when you could easily walk away. It's staying locked in on the goal when your body wants rest and your mind wants relief. Losing sleep for an idea isn't about glorifying burnout, it's about showing yourself how serious you are. If something keeps you up night after night, it's not noise, it's a calling, and not everyone gets one. That calling, it's the purest signal you'll ever get. It doesn't show up with clarity, it shows up with urgency. You feel it in your gut, you can't ignore it, even when you try. That's how you know it matters. Now, when you actually follow that calling, when you make the choice to honor that energy instead of suppress it, you enter this state most people never reach. It's not flow exactly, it's more like obsession with direction. You might not have the full roadmap, you might not even know what the end looks like, but you're moving, you're experimenting, you're creating. And every action builds momentum. That's the thing nobody tells you. Momentum isn't built in the big wins. It's built in the small, gritty, late-night moments. It's built when you're exhausted, but you push out one more idea. When you don't know if it'll work, but you try anyway, that momentum compounds, it stacks up. It doesn't just move your idea forward, it transforms you into someone capable of following through. The more you follow through, the more your self-image changes. You stop being someone who wants to, and start being someone who does. The world sees the output, the product, the project, the win, but what really changes is the wiring inside you. You stop thinking in terms of easy or hard. You start thinking in terms of real or not real, and if something is real to you, if it burns inside you enough to keep you awake, then you chase it, no matter what it costs. You learn to love the discomfort, not because you enjoy being tired, but because you understand that this is the edge where most people quit. And if you can push past it, if you can stay in the ring a little longer, you win. Let's be clear though, this isn't about reckless hustle. It's not about staying up every night for no reason. It's about staying up when something truly demands it, when the idea is loud enough, important enough, urgent enough to override your need for comfort. There are plenty of nights when you should rest. But when you're in the presence of something that could change your life, you owe it to yourself to listen. You owe it to your future self to fight for that breakthrough. Because if you don't, someone else will. Someone else is staying up right now, working on an idea that could have been yours. The difference, they answered the call, you hit snooze. When you start chasing ideas with this level of intensity, something else happens. People start to notice. They might not understand it right away, they might think you're overdoing it or being obsessive, but eventually, results speak louder than words. Eventually, your output forces people to pay attention. That's the long game. You don't win by explaining your passion. You win by showing what it produces. And over time, the same people who questioned your choices will start asking how you did it. The answer? You cared more. You stayed longer. You worked when it was inconvenient. You lost sleep when others played it safe. And that made all the difference. But even deeper than recognition, there's something personal that shifts. When you go all in on an idea, when you give it everything even if nobody's watching, you build something stronger than reputation, you build confidence. Not the loud, fake kind. The quiet, grounded kind that comes from knowing you can count on yourself. That you've proven again and again that you won't let the spark die, that when the idea comes you answer, that you're not just a thinker, you're a doer. That's the kind of self-belief that's unshakable. It doesn't come from books or seminars or hype. It comes from work, from the hours no one sees, from the sacrifices no one celebrates, and maybe that's what makes losing sleep for an idea so powerful. It's not just about the idea itself. It's about becoming someone who's worthy of it, someone who rises when it matters, someone who risks comfort for progress. That's the secret most people miss. The sleepless nights aren't the price of the idea, they're the proof of your readiness. They're the test that says, are you really about this, or is this just another passing thought? And when you show up tired, wired, obsessed, and committed, you pass the test. Eventually, you'll get to a place where you almost crave those moments. Not because they're fun or easy, but because they remind you that you're still alive, that you still care, that there's something inside you that refuses to settle. And in a world that's constantly trying to numb you, to make you comfortable, to make you forget how big your dreams are, that's everything. That fire, that obsession, that late night spark that won't let you sleep. That's the signal, that's the gift, that's the edge. So if you're in that place now, if you're up at 3 a.m. and your brain won't shut off, and you've got this vision that's too big to explain, and you feel like no one would get it anyway, you're exactly where you need to be. You don't need everyone to understand, you don't need approval, you don't need perfect clarity. You just need to start, take that chaos and put it into motion, build something, test something, write something, record something. Let the energy out of your head and into the world. Because the idea isn't there to torment you, it's there to transform you. And the only way that happens is if you answer the call. So don't sleep on it, chase it. Most people go their whole lives waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect alignment of time, energy, and resources, and it never comes. But when you lose sleep over an idea, when something grips you so tightly that you can't rest, that's your moment, that's your edge. The world doesn't reward the person who has the idea, it rewards the one who executes it with relentless consistency. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one else believes in it. That obsession that keeps you up at night, that's the fire most people spend their lives trying to find, so don't fight it. Don't run from it, lean into it, build with it, create with it. Let it pull you forward through the fatigue, through the uncertainty, through the silence. Because if it matters enough to cost you sleep, it might just be the thing that changes your life forever.